Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the Icing Artist. So this week we're going to be making Raphael. At least I think he's Raphael. He's one of the Ninja Turtles, whichever one has the red bandana. So let's get started.
So I've already baked a 6-inch round cake and I've just cut that in half. Now I'm going to start carving out the shape of my Ninja Turtle head. And like always, I always recommend you looking at a picture of what you're trying to carve while you're carving it. It can be really helpful. So I'm just going to start carving away kind of the edges, and you're going to make 4 slits in it like this. You don't want to carve too much away, just give his face a little bit of dimension. I'm just going to really trim off that rough edge around the top. Remove the top of the cake. I'm going to pipe a circle of buttercream going around it and then just fill it with some cream. Put my top back on. Make sure my carvings line up properly, and then I'm ready to crumb coat it. So I'm just using some buttercream icing. I'm just going to give my whole cake a nice and light crumb coat over the top and the sides. And you want to just re-go over the top, pulling the icing towards the center with your spatula. Now I need some green fondant in order to cover my cake, so I'm just going to roll it out. And then with my fondant, I'm just going to roll it over my rolling pin and then unroll it onto my cake. Pull my fondant out with my hands. I'm just going to start smoothing the cake down. So start with the top and then continue down the sides, just working the fondant from the top of the cake right down to the board and just making sure it's nice and tight against my cake. Once you've done that with your hands, you can use a fondant smoothing tool, again with the top, and then just go over the sides. Go ahead and trim off any of that excess fondant, and you can save that for another cake. Now with a bowl, I'm just making kind of a guideline. I need this for his nose, so I just want to make a little half circle there, and using a smaller circle cutter, I'm just going to again make a little indent, and that's going to be for his mouth, just to help me draw a nice straight line. I'm using my veining tool here, and that's just going to help me draw the outside kind of line of where his teeth are going to go. And then just going to kind of smooth out the center of that so his teeth are indented. Now to make his teeth, I'm going to cut out a circle out of white fondant and then just cut out this kind of shape off the end of it and then cut off one of the pointed ends. And that's going to be the shape for his mouth. So you just want to wet it with water, and that's going to help act as a glue for the rest of the pieces onto your cake. I'm just going to add both of his mouthpieces on. Now using a heart-shaped cutter, this is going to be for his eyes. So I'm just going to cut out a heart out of white fondant and not quite cutting that in half. You want to kind of go over that line, and that'll give you your 2 eyes. You can just glue those on just above where the nose line is. And now for the center of his eyes, I'm just going to cut out a smaller black circle, cut that circle in half, cut it in half once more, and then glue those on. And now for his bandana, I'm going to use red, but of course you can use the blue or the yellow or the purple. It's up to you. I'm just going to roll that out nice and thin and then cut out a long strip. Using the same heart-shaped cutter we cut out the eyes, you're going to cut out 2 eye holes. And then just wet where the bandana is going to kind of drape over, or the headband, or whatever you want to call it. And just drape that right on top. And just kind of push it down and smooth it onto your cake. Make sure it's nice and good and stuck. And using my veining tool again, I'm just going to help add a little bit of dimension and just give him kind of where the, I guess, bandana would go over his eyes. Just give him a little bit extra shape. And then with the extra pieces, I'm just going to extend the bandana kind of down onto the cake board. And put a little ball into the middle, kind of like it's tied in a knot. Now to paint all the black that I'm painting on the cake, I'm just using black food coloring. It's the gel paste food coloring. And I've just added some alcohol to it, and that's to dilute it. And when I'm done painting, the alcohol will actually evaporate and we'll just leave the color onto the cake. So I'm just going to outline his mouth and do his teeth and his nose. And for the last touch, I'm just going to close off that little gap underneath his eyes. And that's what your Ninja Turtle will look like when he's all done.
I hope you guys all really like my Ninja Turtle. I know when I was a kid, I used to love the Ninja Turtles. My brother and I would just sit there and watch the old Ninja Turtle movies, and now they've made all these new ones and all these cartoons, and now the new generations of kids love them, which is just great. So I hope you guys like my angry Ninja Turtle, and take care, everybody.